We're going to go over, but I want to get to some of the live questions.
Okay.
If that works for you. So we have one question here. She says, my husband had an emotional affair over a year ago. He says it's been over for a year, but he won't talk about it or to us. We're separated, but not legally. I'm healing and I want us to move forward, but he continues to act like we're divorced. She continues on to say that he's only around to do fun things with the kids who are 17 and 19 years old. He has no pressure, no responsibilities to maintain daily household, and doesn't want to discuss anything emotional. And I'm afraid I'll push him away, but I don't know if he'll come back if I don't start doing something. How can we work on things when we're separated? You say that it's harder, but how can we do it?
Okay. Sometimes, first of all, I understand your frustration about this. Obviously, you still love the guy. Obviously, you'd like to put the marriage back together, and good for you. I think that's awesome. But sometimes people ask us questions, and we get this kind of question repeatedly, as if we know some magic thing that other people don't know. We do know a lot of things other people don't know, but it's not magic. It's stuff that we've learned the hard way. First, through reading tons and tons of research, my own research, getting my own PhD, working with thousands and thousands of couples, interacting with other professionals. And so, yeah, we do know a lot. We really do. And to some degree, and I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, we do know more than some other people know just because we've been so focused on this for so long. But we still don't have magic words. In other words, if you just do this magic thing, this is going to happen. If you just say this magic thing, this is going to happen. You obviously cannot make him talk to you. You can't. And if you try, it's going to be a push behavior that actually pushes him away. He appears to be living kind of in what we would call the valley. The valley has to do with this. He's in a situation where he doesn't feel like he has to do anything. In other words, he's coming around for the fun things, so he's still interacting about that. He's separated, even though he hasn't divorced you. He's separated from you, which means he gets to live his own lifestyle, doing whatever the heck he wants to do, whenever the heck he wants to do it. Yet still come around for the kids and the fun time. And when you try to talk about these, please let's talk about these emotional things, these things we need to talk about, he's blowing it off because why should he? In the valley, people typically don't feel pressed to do anything. In other words, what I have right now, I like. And because I like what I have right now, I have no compulsion to do anything differently than this. Okay. Now, you can let him live in the valley as long as you wish. Sometimes we actually suggest you might want to let him live in the valley for a while. Now, if I read yours correctly, or heard what Kimberly said when she read yours, this guy's been in the valley about a year. That's kind of a long time. If indeed you get to the point where you say, I don't want to live like this anymore. Now, make sure you heard that. Because if you can tolerate the valley for a while longer, then there can be an advantage to your doing so. You say, well, why? Because he's talking to you some. Now, that presents at least some potential opportunities for him to start opening up, be transparent, and you guys actually to start falling in love with each other again. So it's a good thing that he's not living with somebody else, at least I didn't hear that in what you read, that he's not living with anybody else, and that he's still having the fun times. And so letting this go on a little longer can actually be to your advantage if ever there's just any progress at all on the conversations, where he starts opening up to any degree. I would not anticipate, even if that occurs that way, that you're going to get rapidly into talking about the serious stuff. If it happens, it's going to gradually evolve to it. But if you say, no, I don't want to wait that long, then that is your choice. You know, I've waited a year. I've let him live in the valley for a year. I don't want to let him live in the valley any longer. Then you're the one who can actually end it. You say, well, what do you mean? How do I end it? Well, you're not divorced. You can start bringing about, first of all, what we call boundaries and criteria. I'm not going to go into those in great detail here because of time. Boundaries basically say, you say, these are some things that cannot occur. And if they occur, these are the consequences that are going to happen. If you make a boundary, we suggest that you have a tiered response. Quick illustration. If Alice were to say to me, if you come home drunk on a Friday night, this is the bad thing that's going to happen. And by the way, if you set a boundary and it's violated, then you have to do this thing you said you're going to do. But if Alice were doing that, building it tiered, if you come home drunk on Friday night, you're out of here for a week. If we then get back together and you get drunk again, next time you're out for a month. If later we get together and you do it the third time, you're out, period. You're never coming back. That's what we call a tiered response. Why tiered response? In case somebody slips up. Now, in your case, it doesn't sound like that, at least what you wrote to us doesn't give anything for you to set a boundary for. Then that might be the other side for you, which is a criteria. And a criteria is this. This is something that you must do. Now, if you do this thing, here's the positive consequence. If you don't do this thing by such and such a date, then here's the negative consequence. So, for example, and I'm just going to use our workshop here because it'd be easier to illustrate with. If you were to say you've been gone a year, don't want to talk about emotional things, here's the criteria. You go to the Marriage Helper workshop with me, and you must commit to do so by the end of June. And if you do, here's the good things that are going to occur. For example, you can have more time with the kids, or I'll ask for less financial support. Some good thing, whatever that might be. If you don't go, then I'm going to go ahead and see an attorney. But I'll give you one more month to go. If you don't go by the second month, the attorney's going to file. And by the way, then we come to the third one. Remember, we're still making tiers. And if you haven't done it by then we actually will finish with a divorce, and I'm going to have to do everything I can to take care of myself financially and to take care of my children financially. I'm not trying to hurt you. I anticipate you're not going to be happy about it, but it's not because I'm trying to hurt you. It's not because I'm trying to be selfish. It's because of the fact that this is what I'm quite convinced I need to do for the kids and for me. Now, when you do that, if you set that kind of criteria, and if you don't want to set it as to come to one of our workshops, you can make it another criteria. It could be even a whole lot smaller than that, like, okay, within the next 30 days, you're going to have to sit down with me across the table, kids not present, and we're going to have to talk about you, and these are the topics that we're going to cover. Or we're going to talk about us, and these are the topics we're going to cover. And if you refuse to do that, in other words, you set a criteria, and it probably makes more sense to set the smaller criteria first. If he doesn't meet it, then you have to bring about the negative consequences. Just like if he violates the boundaries, you have to bring about the negative consequences. Now, I know what you're thinking, but right now, at least we're talking to each other. If I do either boundaries or criteria, it may be the end of us. And the answer is that's correct. It may. Because at that point, you're jolting him into some kind of action. And if he doesn't take that action, you're going to do what you said you're going to do. Because if you set a boundary or criteria and then you don't do what you said you're going to do, you actually back up another 500 feet, and that's not good for you. And so, yeah, it's a roll of the dice. I don't know him, you do. You may have a better guess as to how he will react. But if you do that, then you're going to take things off dead center like they are now. So here's the question. Should I live in the valley a little bit longer to see, because he does come around, that maybe we can evolve into a better relationship? If so, and if you can do that, maybe you let it go for a while longer. How long? Up to you. At whatever point when you think that's it, can't live like that, something's got to happen, then if there's something that needs to stop, boundaries. Something that needs to start, criteria. Now, if you go to, is it iTunes?
Or Google Play.
And do what?
So whichever you use, iPhone or Android, you can go to iTunes or Google Play and search for Marriage Radio. And that's our podcast. So all of these shows are now uploaded as podcasts, but we have over 130 previous episodes on there as well.
And what you're looking for, if you go there, then you look for the one entitled The Definitive Guide to Boundaries.
I think it's a YouTube show too, though.
Oh, it may be. The Definitive Guide to Boundaries by Dr. Joe Beam, or Marriage Radio. And that'll tell you how to do it if you choose to do that. So I wish I had the magic phrase. I wish I could say, if you just say this, it'll happen. If you just do this, it'll happen. And I realized the answer was probably longer than what you wanted. I tend to get a little long-winded, but I also try to explain things well enough that if you choose to do them, you'll know how. So I'm going to end all that with this. Because I took so long to answer and went through that, if you're going, rather than listening to this 14 times to make sure I got it, back up, Is there somebody that can just talk to me about how to do this? Sure. And that's when they call our coaches, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you can find the information about our coaching at marriagehelper.com. You can find our phone number, that's the word I'm looking for, which is 866-903-0990. And our client relations team would be happy to get in touch with you to tell you about everything we offer, whether it's finding that Boundaries podcast, they can help you with that, all the way to getting you registered for coaching, more information about our workshop, any and all things in between that we can do for you there. So that's what we can do there. Joe, it's been a great program.
Thank you for allowing me to be on it with you. Kimberly actually is our boss. She runs this thing, so so I work for her.
So we look forward to next week. We would love to hear your questions. You can email those to us for next week's program at live, L-I-V-E, at marriagehelper.com. Again, that's live at marriagehelper.com. Be sure you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel.
And ask your friends to subscribe to
Yeah.
us. Please spread the word about it. If you think what we're talking about is of value, please tell other people about it. Let us get this thing viral, and you can help us do that if you believe that what we're doing is beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can ask more questions than just my marriage is in crisis. You can ask us anything about relationships.
Parenting, boyfriend,
Absolutely.
girlfriend.
We would love to help. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Monday.